I feel utterly used. That's my Twitter. Oh, sodding dare you.
Loren.
All right, look.
What's the problem?
It's difficult. Are you not the right. You know what? Do you never go into a restaurant and then have to like plan out how you say your order in your head?
Well, no, because no one understands me anywhere.
That's a very good point.
Christ, I went to get a coffee and thought we're called Jim. Why does Richard sound like Jim?
That's true. No, I mean, but maybe I'm just socially awkward. Got to use it for that relatable content on Twitter, though. Get you those likes, man. Get you those likes. But I have to do that. I sit there in my head, I'm like waiting at Starbucks. I'm like, I know what I want. Any other coffee shops are available. Bear in mind, not Spawn. In case you thought Spawn was violent. But no, I sit there and I'm like, right, I want a cold brew with me. And then I get to the front of the queue and like, what's your name? I'm like, I didn't plan for this. I don't know what my name is. You've sprung this upon Lauren? Like, pardon? Laura? I'm like, yeah, sure.
Yeah, that'll do.
I'm whatever you want me to be.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right. I'm glad it's not just me. Some people agree. Someone just said I'm jet lagged. I mean, oh wait, that was Balak. All right. Well, yeah, you're not wrong. What happened with you in a club?
So I was sat there. Well, I'd only had a few beers, not many. We're talking like 2 or 3.
Yeah, the
drinking's
beverage.
really bad, yeah.
Got it. You had a little shandy.
Flying in the morning.
Lemonade. Got it.
You know, you just sat there and you was thinking, what am I doing here?
I mean,
What am I
when you
doing
get
with my
past
life?
25, you start having those thoughts.
There's like 3 lasses that are all over age of 40, just dancing on a pole in corner.
Wait, what was
Everyone
this club
else
you
looks
went
like
to?
they're under the age of 15 to 16. It just, you know, you just think, I want to go home.
It's when you realise you're old. I think the last time I went to a club was actually a while. Well, I mean, not like an after party, but like on my own with my friends. We went to a club, and I'd already been day drinking. This was during Christmas times. I was absolutely mullered. I got in there, and I just felt like it was a school disco. I was like, I don't know what this is.
Yeah.
What is this dubstep? I hate it. We sat in. Me and my friends got a little VIP corner because we're old enough to afford it now. It's actually not that expensive
That's
when
what
you're
they
old.
always do.
Honestly, it's not that bad, but then I just had this. So I was sat there absolutely off my face. This is a story for another time, but you're going to hear it anyway. I had too many lemonades, a sugar high, you know what I mean? It's one of those.
Yeah.
So I had a big glass of lemonade, and I was laying down on the couch because it was that point of the evening.
Oh no.
And someone comes over, and it's me and 2 other commentators from a different game. So we're just chilling, you know, I'm in, you know, a certain state. 2 guys come over, and I'm thinking, what do they want? Hey guys, can I get a picture with you? I'm just like, oh no. No.
This does not happen.
Somewhere on the internet there is a picture of me in a club that I'm already way too old for, just not in a good shape. Because you know you walk outside and you hope the fresh air is going to bring you back. I threw up
It brings something back.
No, I threw up in front of the bouncer, and he's just like, yeah, it's time to go. I'm like, oh no, I'm getting the Uber.
That really is a moment where you can't say your own name right, isn't it?
Oh, it was so bad.
Yeah.
So I was thinking, people are queuing to get into the club right next to me. Bouncers right there. I'm just like, I'll take myself.
When you're kind of at that state, I suppose, you don't feel awkward in a nightclub because everyone else is in the same. But when you're pretty sober and you're just looking at everyone thinking, am I this much of a twat when I've had a beer? Honestly, I would have stood there thinking, it's time for me to leave.
Yep.
I need to go. I'm too old for this. I have a child now. Fathers shouldn't be in this place. I'm married with a kid and I own a house.
That's the one.
I'm not all about the clubbing life. Although when I do go hard, it does kind of tend to.
I've seen. Look, there are videos of Richard at the club. Very funny. I'm gonna send it to your missus. How about that? She'll like that. I'll send it to. Here you are. Do you know what he gets up to? Tyler, like that's what she really gets into.
I've seen the Shoey video. I don't remember doing it live, but I've seen it.
I've actually refused to do shoeies because the things whenever I travel, I only ever have like 2 pairs of shoes, and I don't want one soggy pair of shoes.
There were 2 Australians in that club at the time, and I just says, you know what, if you can do shoeies, you're welcome to join us, boys on the tit. And they were quite hardcore. They were all about the beer, the Australian life.
All right, I'm glad this is the content you all turned up for. I apologise already. If you'd like tales from my misguided youth, which is probably actually what's happening in the last 2 years, happily share it. There's many stories.
It is funny when you look at these younger generation now. God, I sound like my dad. Even the players, you go out drinking like, oh, I remember that. I remember all these stupid mistakes.
I remember when I could have Red Bull and vodka.
Yeah.
Not these days.
I remember.
No, heart palpitations and sadness. Heart palpitations, the words, they're on my lips. The players getting ready, the adrenaline starts to pump. And it will be time to get into game 2. It feels like we've been talking for 4 million hours. I apologize, guys at home. I'm glad you kind of just suffered through it with us. I appreciate it. I appreciate it a whole lot. What I appreciate is another damn good game on Miramar. CrowCrowd picking up the first. Could they double? I don't know. There's a lot of good teams here, but there's so many individuals at the end of the game one. Can we have a couple more solid fours still standing?
Biggest winners, biggest losers. The Finns most certainly 19 points and 13 points respectively for CrowCrowd and ENCE, topping the charts for game number one. TSM, Liquid, FaZe, you're seeing the big five starting to step up as well. 12 points, 8 kills in total for both FaZe Clan and Liquid, third and fourth in the rankings so far for that previous round. Biggest losers, unfortunately, I'm starting to see a bit of a pan here, boys. G2, Desperados, NIP. It's not the best way to start things, especially how Desperados ended overall in second yesterday, and on day number one we saw NIP in second. Maybe Miramar just isn't their game, who knows? Fresh game, fresh map, fresh playing path. We're going down the center. Everyone should be allowed to go to their go place, their home position, their safe spot, and work their way in from here. However, as every single game goes, the circle can throw this into total and utter chaos.
Good.
I'd like an island circle. That'd be lovely.
Prison.
Just make it a complete mess.
Prison.
Throw everything into the wind.
Prison.
Island.
That's really north.
That's still pretty rough.
Oh, I like that.
The worst part about this circle, straight up, is that you have the mountain in the middle that is going to dictate where the circle goes. You can't make it into some of those areas on the mountain.
Let's go to Oasis.
Is there any way you can swim in Oasis, or is it all foot deep?
I actually don't know.
I have. It's not somewhere that I actually go often, to be fair.
When it first came out, the problem is I was like, oh, cool, I'll check it out. And it was just like 5 million people swarming 3 huts. I'd like to see the area if there is deep enough water. I think you can walk through most of it, but yeah.
But yeah, that's that mountain, inaccessible terrain. The circle will shift away from it. So you've basically got to pick which side of it you want to be at. It will really be the next circle that you start to kind of make that decision, because it will be much more in play, I suppose, is the better word to use. We could still go to the north there. You did mention Oasis. I mean, there's still definitely a possibility. For the first 3, anything's possible, anything goes. But again, that rock side, that hillside of the mountain that runs straight through a good, quarter of the map at least. You can't go up it, and the circle will not pull to it, so you need to pick which side of it you want to be at.
God, there's so much room in the north, but this is a Na'Vi circle and a half, isn't it? You look at that, you think, so much room and safety for so long. That's wild.
There is, but it's just, it can be such a nightmare, and we have seen it before, where teams are all, oh, you know what, we're in Crater Fields. We've got these, because there is a really solid compound on the side. There's 2 of them actually on the side of Crater Fields.
Well, that's where Na'Vi normally head towards eventually.
And then you'll see the circle just go over the other side of the mountain. You're like, well, that's bad. That's all kinds of bad. Because then you have to go over, and 9 times out of 10, you've got a team sat on the foothill, because there's nowhere else to go. It's a prime position. It's not even prime position, it's just somewhere to survive.
Yeah, it's viable at this point, isn't it?
They're basically a roadblock.
God, how are N47 getting to this circle? I'm just looking at the teams who are kind of further away, who's even working up in the extremities is going to be rougher.
You think ENCE will do the usual Oasis poll? Go up and over?
Honestly, I have no clue with a route like this.
If you imagine a Saverny circle where a few teams would take the eastern road and then come in and swing it round off the side of that hills, because I know it's a different map, I know, but if you think about the generic layout of it, you will get a few teams that maybe swing it up the east and then swing it round.
Yeah, no,
and come in. It avoids the main head of the pack on the edge.
It does. Let's see where people go. This is pretty much just kind of watch and wait. This isn't a normal circle we see. If it keeps going north, that's very unprecedented, and it is very fun. Now, for now, it looks like Raise Your Edge taking their time. They're out in the east, and they were quite far north anyway, so they can actually approach this very nicely. They're probably one of the more advantageous teams if they scout this on the way, which we just saw them do. So they should be able to see maybe 7 or Na'Vi, depending on where they are. They're going to hear those shots, so that should be a bit of a warning sign for them that area already going to be pretty rife. TSM, NIP very close by to each other as well. Liquid on the way, coming in directly south, in between the night. So a couple of players in between them, a little bit of terrain to make it tricky, and there's NIP. They moved away from TSM, but they pulled right up towards 7. NBS, he does have Gaxi with him and Miraku, but there's a time limit on this, and 7 being quite quiet about it all. They're waiting to strike big headshot from Crab. And now the flush from Sadovnik. Big loss already, but the trade comes back in from Miraku towards Crab, so it's all even for now until the trade comes back out for Seven. Sadovnik trying to hold ground. The rest of his team are on the way to try and support him.
I have to kind of question that pull-up from Gaxi to go flying in on the bike when all the rest of his teammates are pulled up when we're approaching it from a different angle. To just go bolting it in like that, because at that point you're basically just held in midair, nowhere to go. There is return response at least for now. How much more damage they can do is beyond me. Questionable push. No, it's not. I take that completely back. It was being pushed from 2 different angles. So they will start the cleanup and potentially 7 down to 2. Yes, indeed. That grenade, though, there's 2 of them. There's open windows. See if they find one onto Vant. Nope, they've gone for the wrong building. Well, that's pretty good for NIP because now they don't know the location of where they are. MBS might be a bridge too far for the res.
I've got to say, if you want to be highly critical of some parts of this, you've got to say, Gaxi, did he overcommit to this if it wasn't cleared out? That's something for another time, as we still see
really
Vard working his way in. That was well cooked. He does flush Buster. There is still one standing, though. So Edelweiss is here, could get caught on the med. Actually, NIP taking their time on this. They could have rushed that. They obviously didn't know. Edelweiss now back ready, and the off angle is filthy there. Couldn't work on it.
Res.
Maybe a prone block as well on that if he tried to have adjusted round. NIP managed to keep themselves standing, but there's more teams coming their way now.
I've not seen the bleed out, so that could be a near-death resuscitation for MBS. To get him back would be massive. Gaxi just balling in, unfortunately, is costing them the life, but if they keep 3 up, that's really good work from NIP in such a tricky situation. 16th place then for 7. Rather unfortunate, but 4 points still in the bag for NIP. Trade off to lose 1 player early. Tyres are going on the truck, and the truck's going over.
From one game winning to this one being very uncomfortable early on for CrowCrowd. Wanted happy to put those shots down, feeling somewhat safe where he is, even though they are surrounded. Big high ground to play from, going to kind of reposition with the team as NIP started to put a little bit of pressure on, enough to keep them on notice. We are seeing most teams working their way in now. DA starting to get towards the circle, ENCE as well. And M47 just kind of on the road, leading out Los Leones, heading way further towards the west, just taking the main route. They should be there perfectly fine. G2 up in the northeast. The next circle is going to be very decisive. A lot of teams just pretty much banking on it being very central here. TomiL up above, could find Temi, and it looks like CrowCrowd actually are in a real bit of bother here. After a great game to start with, losing out on Temi, it's not how you wanted to see it go.
Yeah, they're not necessarily being able to find a really good position to take a hold in this circle. This is why you kind of see him split between the wins. They'll lose their scout, which is fine. He's the best person to be losing as opposed to an entire squad wide. FaZe Clan, they've pushed up a little bit aggressively. Maybe they heard the shots in the distance. Calvin Klein has overextended from the rest of his roster, and he will be punished. Ultra there to answer back, but now FaZe, they don't really have to do anything else. They've done the damage. They can let him bleed out. Unless Desperados want to try and get aggressive on this one, Calvin Klein will indeed be finished off. You know what, FaZe, they want to kind of show face as well that they aren't scared of these individual teams. Ultra's face, or helmet should I say, is just showing.
Well,
but now it's time to bail on the scenario.
330 bullets, you might as well use them, mightn't he? FaZe geared up enough for those fights. N47 just getting into the circle here. Working the way through. 15 teams, of course, still stand. 56 players, so plenty to still be seen. This first circle move, I would love to see the north side utilized here. We rarely get to see it. For me, that would be absolutely perfect. Very, very unprecedented, but still, that's yet to be found. ENCE had a bit of a scuffle there with DA, so that seems like a constant battle going on. Team Liquid, bit of a split there with James, but it looks like he's on the way. And it's kind of gone where we expected. Just, I guess, centering south of the crater fields for now.
So this is where these hills and cliffs will really come into effect and dictate where teams go. Because they'll essentially kind of predict now what's going to be in and what's not going to be. It is a bit yin and yang scenarios. It does run straight through the middle parallel. So all teams will be double questioning themselves. Where do we go? Where do we pitch up here? And where do we get ready for the next pull? Because it could still go anywhere whatsoever. And then we move. There's no written laws about circles, but generally we see tendencies. And we have ideas of where they like to finish and where they like to go. This is one of those scenarios where you can kind of have a good guesstimate with the terrain, what it does to the circles and how they work. City, water we know, city's tendency.
Ooh, hold on,
Mountains,
G2 are really
definitely
close to Na'Vi here, or at least some of the split I don't know if they're going to push on this because it looks like a doozy. And yeah, PokeMoldoi definitely providing cover for the two players who are way further forward on that ridgeline, allowing them to back away. Nice covering work from Na'Vi. Going to fall off that one, try and move themselves to a better spot. Bit of a 2-2 split. You still have a doozy and Bestlosh slightly split apart from PokeMoldoi and Senya, but they could always bring themselves back together. Reciprocity here in the northeast, near towards Raise Your Edge. You could have NIP, the Knights, Na'Vi, and G2 all close enough by. And still, I think they're aware of where a couple of these teams are, so information being found for sure.
Everyone just getting a home position. I'm okay with that. Still not a lot of massive engagements going on. CrowCrowd have opted to go crater fields. FaZe Clan aren't too happy with it, so they'll box them in. Maybe constrict on them if they do have to try and get out there and camp them until the very end. CrowCrowd in a similar scenario in the previous round. DA, closest ones to San Martin. ENCE, they're on the road all the way down south. Liquid, 2-2 split either side of the road. Jempty and Ibi trying to get a foothold should the circle go central. Jimbo and Sampty there in case the circle needs to move. It's not even if it moves towards them, if it moves anywhere really, then they're on the roads and they can make use of them. They'll have to be careful though because N47 split. T-Bone watching the roadside. They're in a 2-1-1 scenario more towards the south. Desperados lost Calvin earlier on, as you did see on screen, by FaZe. They're the only team currently not inside the circle. And they're just outside of El Pozo.
Now, most of the shots we're going to see, we might see a knock, but it'd be surprising to see a flush on it unless it's a big individual area. I think ubah's getting spotted out here by, I think it was some of maybe GamerLegion from on top of the hillside, but these are all pretty fast shots. Again, it'd be surprising if anyone got massively caught off. You'd see NIP and the Knights quite close by, maybe Raise Your Edge and Reciprocity or G2, depending on where they go, but it should all be somewhat safe here and somewhat recoverable.
The general hotspots are where these circles like to end because of these hills. It could hard shift all the way down to the south. That's still viable, not 100% because of where the actual tip of it is, but generally speaking, we've seen a lot of endings more towards the eastern side where NIP is. And you know what? I think that's where we're going. Because of that rock that's in play now, there's a very small chance that it goes in... Ooh. Actually, no, it never ends in crater, inside both of those craters, actually.
It's going to be south. You've got to think of the circle size that has to be able to fit within it. Surely it's going south, where Liquid are now heading down towards. You had Jeems and Sampty already in sort of a position down here. It's kind of the, I guess, the death junction, if you want to look at it. High ground all around it, but, you know, somewhat good cover. I think that most of the teams are realizing this, just purely land mass alone. If the next circle has to fit within it, it has to go towards somewhat of the southern side. Now, all of that beyond it, I don't know how this is going to play out because there's definitely not enough cover for everyone here. I'm worried if Liquid split themselves too thin because teams will crash this area. It is scary to play from because you have so many eyes on you, but it's got potential. G2 still somewhat open, and yeah, we are seeing Braexco already being found, NIP being punished here. A lot of the teams out in the open on these rotations are being caught off here. Desperado's working their way in from the west. They're going to be kind of getting towards these fights too, maybe trying to avoid some of them being on the main road does make you a target. Spray from Tiikzu, no big shots coming through towards CrywZZ. He's made it into somewhat of a bit of cover. And they are actually kind of safe here. The ones who aren't so for now are CrowCrowd, FaZe, and still have a little bit of work to do to get everyone in. And the Desperados ascending it. They might go right towards Liquid here. It looks like they're going to crash. I knew that there's a couple more teams who like to go towards this area, and it's got real room for plenty of teams to come in. Jempty nicely handled on the reset of the spray there towards Tom. And you're going to see everyone else trying to work their way forward. He's backed off from this, waited for support. A vert nade could be used here. That could be really nice. Actually, he's going to just... Oh, this could be huge. Really nice from Jempty. Bit of a tick on it too. Can't get away.
Oh my word.
Nowhere to run, nowhere to hide. Jempty is here. SIMSY is still standing for the Desperados, but holding on to desperation at this point.
With the smokes being down and the noise that rings aloud from those things, Liquid could reposition and basically just wait SIMSY out. As soon as that smoke dissipates, they'll be there. And they'll take him down with open arms.
It's actually,
again, that smoke noise will hide the crawling around and the crouching. And they'll get away with this one. You can see the red indicators are showing us that the smokes have actually gone. I'll throw down some more, but if he knows exactly where they are, and if he's got a grenade, throw that through the letterbox. That's going to be a 2-for-1 once again.
No nade on Ibi.
I think that kind of speaks volumes about the nerf that's coming to play in Phase 3, because usually you'd see
40.
teams. Yeah. 17 in the back pocket.
Yeah.
Just another quick touch on this circle. Between Na'Vi and uphill side of G2, maybe GamerLegion, there's a small chance it would kind of go their way, but they would require a hard shift now. Generally speaking, this is why all the teams are committing more towards the eastern side. Between NIP and maybe, of a bigger extent, Digital Athletics, that's a hot spot. And this is where we should be looking towards. And there it is, that roadside. Basically now, this entire cutoff, the road that runs through TSM where they are, it's basically going to end somewhere between TSM and Digital Athletics. That's where you want to be, and that's what you should be pushing now.
I like what Liquid have done here. There's the risk of pushing any of these teams. They actually might get caught on the cross anyway, but it's the fact that they probably would have lost maybe more than that if they tried to go for the push on towards the Desperados, and I think TSM already had line of sight towards that side of the road. If a revive comes in, that'd be great, but now N47 get punished regardless, so you have a bit of a third party coming back in as soon as those shots were opened. Liquid having to fall away from one side, claim the other, because you know there's going to be more teams crashing this side of things. It's going to be very, very somewhat of a reliable thing to look at. Now look at Na'Vi as well. They're going to try and take the northern side of the circle. I'm wondering where they're going to go from this. N47 ascending it as well. They're on the main road, heading right towards Desperados, towards Liquid. They're all piling in towards this, maybe realizing they can do something with it because they saw Liquid back away, but they don't know the Desperados are here. So maybe a misread and a punish going to come from it. Ultra stands up to the test, takes down Vazku. Can there be anyone to do any damage back? It looks like the answer is no for now. It's a big pickup for the Desperados, holding down this just small quarter, but that's all they need for now.
T-Bone has arrived on scene. I tell you what, so is FaZe Clan. You can see them now. They're turning and facing. They're heading towards this one. They are committed to the cause. They will pull up, and we have so many teams smashing into this compound. And that's because really and realistically, you can't go any deeper into the circle. You take what you can get and you abuse it. That's exactly what FaZe Clan are doing. The smokes are up so they can make the cross. They will go for the garages. They will push them. CrowCrowd, previous round winners. Unfortunately, not this time, I do not think, unless they can survive this onslaught. Several members have fallen. GamerLegion, dead to right. G2, yet to make a move. They're still on the side here. Oh, that's over by the crater's edge. CrowCrowd, they do go down. From Hero, unfortunately, to Zero. Called a mentor onto Miraku. NIP now, finally. They've had to move from the safety of their compound. But unfortunately, there are so many teams. If you are not inside the circle now, you're pretty much dead.
Yeah, this sort of area is pretty scary. T-Bone's holding on by a thread, and he does go down, all the utility being put towards it. I would say the one issue of this area is it doesn't often end on this. It often ends where TSM are, or maybe DA. And once you get up that hill, you can't really leave this compound. If you don't have a vehicle safe, and even then it's still a really risky run. So a lot of the teams towards the north are a little bit safer in that regard. We'll see where this goes. I say that, for Reciprocity is certainly not safer. Still, players like MBS holding the very extremities, the very ends of the world for now. A couple of tags between the Desperados and Liquid. This battle will be going on the whole time. You need to work out where you can peak safely at this point, and really, it's nowhere. ENCE might be picked up on their rotation, trying to join Rustanmar towards the top side of the hill. And it looks like they might just make it up here with good cover coming in from Rustanmar, allowing the others a couple of seconds of respite, get off the bike, make him just a beautiful entrance. SKUIJKE with a 360. We love a bit of style.
I don't know how you, once this next circle updates, how you're even going to get into it. It's going to be somewhere between the trifecta of Raise Your Edge, ENCE, and Digital Athletics, maybe TSM to a bigger extent, but we've seen it bounce away from those many compounds a few times. Again, if you're not kind of over that main road, maybe kind of box it off if you want. If you were to draw a square around it between TSM's road, FaZe, down to San Martin, and the other one on the northern edge of it, it's within there. It should pull further away from the hill, and then that's when everyone starts to die. You've already seen Na'Vi lose one. Jimbo from across the road. ubah, again, with a Mark 14. The man who is just a phenomenal, phenomenal player with that gun. Hits the mark every single time. Does the damage. They've actually been gifted a crate, lands behind them. Thankfully for them, that'll give them some equipment that they may be able to utilize against Team Liquid, because they will have to cross the road.
Nice nade from a doozy. Going to find two. That could be a nice wipe coming out as well. As there it is. Vexel, I think, was the last one alive there. I'm not sure. He got found. Now let's look at this circle. It's somewhat of what we expect. It moves away from that hillside. And honestly, that compound where all those teams currently were residing, the 4 teams, it's kind of within the circle's limit of it. So it's always going to move to the southeast where it's somewhat positioned. Nice pick up on the move here from Raise Your Edge. They're holding it down. They're in the north. They're trying to keep this one under control, and they've done it incredibly well. The Knights have fallen, and Reciprocity getting very interested in this, maybe curious as to what's going on. Might have to have a little bit of a look as Narc's gone down to CrywCrowd, and that's from G2, still not in the new safe zone, still not in the new circle. FaZe on the move, in the vehicles, opting to try and cross the road, everyone on their own vehicles. mxey's gone down, the first strike, FaZe trying to send it, hoping at least some of them make it through, and Aitzy, ubah, it looks like Fuzzface is there for now. Aitzy's been found too. ENCE in prime position, but they could get swarmed.
I actually saw mxey kind of turn off and head towards them. I'm hoping he acted as bait and kind of said, you know what, aim for me so the rest of my boys can push up.
Na'Vi crashed in towards TSM, and it's gone very poorly. Very limited amounts available. TSM holding a really big split too. They're in very individual buildings, so a brave play. And this is what we were saying about that compound in towards the southwest as well. It's hard to leave it. Most of the teams getting away have lost out in some numbers. FaZe down to 2. Liquid actually keeping 4 alive is impressive. Some of the circles still maintain some of the buildings they're in, and actually all the other teams beside them have fallen, so now they can have safe entry. ENCE are up on the hill in front of them, though. I
really like what Liquid's doing, and they're moving now where there's time to play still, because once we go further in next circle, should this pull away from them, they'll be in dire straits trying to get forward and make an advancement. Doing this now is doing the exact same scenario as what RageReg is doing. The unfortunate factor for RageReg is they've been hit by 2 different teams, both G2 and Reciprocity, heard all the shots ringing aloud and got involved, is now taken down to a 2-man band.
We're seeing a lot of life here for Liquid. Yeah, this is a bit of a new one. Normally we see them down to scraps at this point. 4 alive is looking quite scary, and ENCE feeling a little scared here. FaZe looking elsewhere. They're down towards DA, so they don't have to worry too much about that side. ENCE are just purely focused on what's in front of them. SKUIJKE crawling back. Jeems already gets a bit of a glimpse towards miikaz, but the high ground is still with miikaz. He's got a nice little bit of a ridge to play with. So Liquid, yes, they have the numbers, but it's not an easy one to play off, and ENCE were looking deadly in that last game. They were taking fights. They were looking a little bit better, but look who's turning up here. TSM was starting to extend. Maybe humbled here, maybe feeling that might be a little too ahead of themselves. Jempty finds miikaz, and it looks like ENCE are on their last legs here. Rustanmar trying to go for the sneaky revive, and he gets it.
Which could be dangerous in the long term if they allow them to get on the feet and get back to full health.
Here comes TSM. They are starting to knock at the door with that new circle. They're going to have to consider their options. Yeah, it's time to fall off this. As already Ibby's noticed that. But look, Rustanmar, SKUIJKE, they're back to decent health. Jeems and SIMSY better be on notice. They can make a play from this. But FaZe have turned their eyes back away from DA, down towards the southwestern side.
And that's what you need to be most careful of, because they could have a very obscure angle that you wouldn't see coming. SKUIJKE on the opener to Jeems. That's a nice start. He will reposition, but it won't matter too much.
Oh,
SIMSY with the hammer. Job done. Bye-bye, ENCE. And now you can see FaZe, they'll move faster on this one. They'll try and make something happen. But the problem is they are fighting a battle on 2 fronts because DA is directly behind them.
Yeah, DA has to move fast as well. I think FaZe know that. Fuzzface down to a 1-shot, 2 HP. Probably going to have to find maybe a bit of low ground to get a heal off, something. The Blues could be a big threat to him, and Team Liquid are now back on their feet, back healing, back to 4. So they want in on the fight. They want in on the points. They want to hold this southern side. Meanwhile, in the circle, you still have G2, RageReg, Reciprocity, and TSM just trying to hold off for now, see if they spot anyone on the way up. The southern side is not pretty, though. FaZe do not have an easy fight on either front, and DA is still trying to put up numbers, but they've got no kills so far.
Hold'em enter and SIMSY, central of the map. 2 individual players are just going to chill and see what they can do for the long term. DA has to come out of the safety net that they've had in the building. There is a bit of cover in the form of a plane in the middle, directly outside of the compound if they want to go for it, but honestly, you're going to be so exposed to both Liquid and Reciprocity. I really hope that Liquid...
Look at this adjustment from Liquid. I love that.
I'm going to say, I hope they haven't forgot about FaZe Clan, but I think that's why they're doing it, to try and deal with them.
Oh, but look who turns up. Fuzzface finds him a way out of this. I love that repositioning from Liquid. It was really good to shut down that southern side, but there's pressure from everywhere. And now it's just ubah left for FaZe, and he doesn't even have a scope on his gun. He's just going as it is. He does at least have the comp, but still, DA now focused towards Liquid. It gives room for ubah, but Jeems aware of this flank that he could be going on, and time is starting to tick. The Blues starting to move in. SIMSY looking for safety in the distance. Ibby and Jeems left to control the south. DA looking to maybe leapfrog a position here, but they've been slower on the uptake.
There's a few individuals that will be able to make use of the terrain. And it kind of dips down. Flashbang initially, catches him on guard. He actually hits the target, but Mitraleius quick to the draw, takes him down. TSM, they've gone further afield. They've gone hunting. They want to take G2 out. You know what? They might catch them at the right time. Scoom takes a bullet, but NELLOZ now gets put on red alert. Chris, the sniffer dog, will feed this information back. 3 versus 1, excuse me. Rory turns up. NELLOZ in the fight of his life.
Yeah, NELLOZ is not happy right now by any margins. He's just hoping that that deflate can keep him safe. I don't know if it will. You can see Liquid trying to find a little bit of revenge here. 7-kill game is very nice, but TSM starting to wind themselves into it too. DA need to be striking while the iron's hot. TSM on the move. Liquid trying to maybe get things going for themselves, potentially get a revive in Jeems. Oh, SIMSY, what a bit of cover. Can he save the day? Oh, Jeems, that is such big play, but SIMSY's covering fire, spraying in, just keeping them tagged, keeping them humble, denying that ridgeline peak, and ABeautflDeath has to back away. Liquid trying to hold on for dear life here.
Bop in between the trees, the cover gets the job done. TSM, by the way, 4 players alive, only team left with the full squadron standing, and they've been quite aggressive on this circle. They've moved out the safety net of their compound, and they've gone central, and they're creating a wall, a barrier of TSM bodies. 2-2 split, and now IREP begins the assault. Liquid, they're up against it. The blue's there. There might be a blue-coloured team, but this blue will not be favourable to them. It will do damage. They're getting pretty greedy on this. I'm a big fan. You've got to be careful.
It scares you with this many players live. 11 players is still a lot. You've seen that Team Liquid have already lost out on players themselves. You're keeping track of that. If they want to be decisive and completely control this outskirt, this side of the circle, that's fine. It's really good for points. They've got a 10-kill game building. That's excellent, but it gets scary. You don't want to allow the likes of Razor Edge to maybe split you apart, maybe get a pick here because you have Codamenta there. I don't think he wants to get involved in that. But if he had the opportunity, he's not going to just miss out on it. But TSM maintain control. Codamenta does eventually strike, but it's towards DA. We're down to 3 teams.
At least that one individual shot gives Ira the information that he needs. There is a play in here. Should he have a grenade? It should be an easy kill. I've heard the window smash, and there it is.
Nice work coming out. TSM taking control now. The circle looks like it's theirs. They still have their kind of anchor point of Michael and Gustav over towards the north. They've controlled this, allowing Rory, allowing Iro to have that freedom to play as they want. That's a really good bit of play, ensuring the reciprocity, Monkey, SKUIJKE can't, Scoo, Monkey, and SKUIJKE can't really do much more. They're pinned into these positions. Reciprocity are going to bank on hitting some big shots. They have to. Same for Razor Edge now.
By doing this split, TSM is basically dominating a good 50 to 60% of the map. They're making it so there's no avenue of approach. Codamenta's just going to get a bit BM and throw all his gear on the floor. That's fine. Might not even be BM. It might say, you know what, there's easy loot there.
Nice
Thank you very much. They can't basically get in the circle now without being seen. And that's the big safety net of doing this wide 2-2 split in the final circle.
Do have a couple of smokes on Scoom still. Maybe waiting, see if they get a tag, maybe use them at the last second possible, work off the back of it. I'm wondering if Monkey had any. I actually didn't see, if I'm honest. So it's very unlikely. You'd need SKUIJKE to join in at the perfect moment. You'd need Reciprocity hit some really big shots. They're trying to rotate around the circle, maybe look for a new entry point here, maybe just deny some information from TSM. But TSM controls so much of this at the moment. Monkey going to give a little bit of the information away there, give a little bit of info to be played out from. There's the bleed comes in. Scoom getting tagged up. Not a good moment for Reciprocity to be getting tagged. But look at this ridge line. It's so favorable to where TSM are holding. Reciprocity are going to just silhouette so much.
I actually wondered if they were going to go for the bait initially, have Monkey throw the smokes down and maybe try and make an approach. But TSM are just dominating this circle ridiculously. You can't do anything. This is their game. This is their map. This is currently their server. 11 kills in the bag. And they're going to keep on counting. Yeah,
spraying in wildly. Monkey still stands, but it's a matter of how long really here. That's 12 kills. SKUIJKE finally appears. That's Iro going down. But there's the instant fight back. There goes Reciprocity. It's down to just SKUIJKE. Left in a 1v3 here. If he gets anything out of this, it'd be a miracle. Rory's already got a nade spraying. Oh, the nades come raining in. It's TSM. Big, big match from the boys.
It's a lovely game. It's a lovely map for TSM. Yesterday, 11th position overall. Not the best of days when you're sitting at the top and you're trying to stay there and keep control of this league. Games like that most certainly will help. 10 points for the win. How many kills overall? Was it 13?
I think it was around 13. I'm not sure if it was more.
22 to 24 point game, something like that for TSM. That's nice. That only just strengthens the grip at the top that they have. But for now, enough from talking with us. We're going to talk to Sam, who's going to join the boys from TSM.
I am with the boys from TSM, and from the start of this game when we saw them pick off Na'Vi, they looked confident, they looked in control. You owned those last few circles. Tell me, what was the thinking behind that? Because it just seemed like after a while you guys knew exactly where you needed to be and you could just pick off all the other teams.
Yeah, I mean, early game, that compounds, when teams don't run out of options, they tend to like crash our compound or where Liquid is. So we knew that we stack on the sides where teams are most likely to come and crash, because that's like, they just think this is the weaker side, we'll take this. We stacked like a 3-1 so that if they crashed there, they'd have no chance. We knew Na'Vi had to come down the hill. We had a good like setup for them. We killed them. We knew if we stayed in that compound at the end, we were there. Like G2 would have the high ground if they wanted to play aggressive. We knew we killed one early. We didn't know there were two. We thought maybe there were three. We take the high ground off them, take all the ridges off them, so we have all that control. It's about just going like, just having a lot of confidence there and taking them ridges. And after you get both of them ridges at the end that we had, the hills, the high ground, I mean, you just get free kills and every team runs out with like places to play, really. So yeah, that's how it is. Like,
You mentioned confidence, and this is interesting because earlier this week we chatted a little bit about the new coach. We said that it was giving you more of a positive mindset. You've been sitting on #1, is in the #1 spot. Is this momentum now going to keep you guys going? Are we going to constantly see more games like this?
I mean, I think what we changed this season, like this phase, is we started sticking more to a game plan. We've been a lot more like, professional about our approach. We don't whine. We just say, okay, we have a bad game, we have a bad strategy. Instead of being like, oh, the circle, oh, this or that, we'd be like, okay, what do we do next time to change it, to actually like, fix that strategy, and like make sure when that circle pops next time, we have a game plan that we can do, and we can stick to that. And yeah, we want to win in strategy for every circle that pops up, really. So yeah, that's how it is.
It's working. It's impressive. You are on the top of the leaderboard. Well done on your chicken dinner. Let's head on over back to the desk for our next match.
TSM is able to deliver here. Very impressive stuff by them, especially when we're hearing from good old Michael there towards the very end. So great interview to hear his insights as to how they were able to command that final circle, or final few circles, I should say, actually here. Joining me, Froz, as well as Avenger. Guys, that was strong from them, and it really didn't look like many of the last remaining teams could really put up too much of a fight, given their circumstances, given the fights that were going on between those teams.
So you gotta rewind a little bit and look back when Na'Vi actually crashed down to TSM in the compound. That was the biggest threat for TSM throughout the whole game, I'd say. Yeah. Because they were holding that compound, Na'Vi came in. If Na'Vi took out 1 or 2 from TSM, it wouldn't have been as easy in the end game. Now, TSM did play that really well, though, with the rotations moving up, and then sweeping out 2 and 2, making sure that we could cover a lot of ground, but also a lot of angles, just pinching down every other team.
We also hear from Michael, like, they were extremely prepared. They knew exactly what was going to happen. They made sure that they had 2 on each side of the road. They held down the compound exactly like you had to do in case you get breached. And also, they avoided the compound that Liquid is in because they know that is usually the compound that gets breached more often than the compound they were in. And I would say it's as strong or stronger because you have you're connected to both sides of the roads depending on where the circle goes. On the other hand, though, I would say that Liquid really played this extremely well. They made sure that they didn't lose any players in the start of the game, and made sure that they could kind of come back to the right side of the road, which the circle ended up going towards. 6 kills for NIP though before NBS eventually went down.
We've seen Liquid stepping up their game enormously today, and we saw that in the last game here, 9 kills with a 5th place. And how they were playing. They got to the center, but also how they were moving from the compound after DESPERADO crashed into their breached them. They took one out and then they left that because they didn't want to take that fight anymore. They knew that they don't need to take that. We back off. We're going to hold them off in the next one because we're going to be more center, meaning they're going to need to charge us first.
A cheeky attempt at a flash there that we just briefly saw. And I'm hoping that we see more uses of the flashes.
Well, Michael is one of the players who've been using most flashbangs, I'd say.
Right.
And he's been using it for a long time as well.
I would say in general, overall, the stun grenades and utilities in general is a lot of underuse. Yes, utilities and no grenades are kind of included, but people know that grenades are extremely powerful, but in some situations, the stun grenades can literally wipe out a full team just with one grenade if you do it at the right time and know how to use it.
9th through 16th, and for Pittsburgh Knights and N47, actually surprisingly, 0 points for them. And Navi getting themselves 4 points up towards the top. I'm trying to hold in a sneeze. It's really difficult, but I'm
just go for it.
No,
Just go for it.
No, it's gone. 1 through 8 here. TSM 24 big points up towards the top. I mean, 12 for the other two teams.
Yeah, just look at them. They got double amount of points as second and third place got in total there. At the same time, Liquid getting himself 9 kills. I think that's going to put them on most kills so far today. We only had 2 games, of course, so it's not too much, but they're on 17 kills for today, and TSM got 14 this game. It's still not most kills.
Here's the scary thing, Avenger. TSM was already #1 on the rankings.
They got second in the last game, first in this game.
Yes.
They are putting a... I mean, this is not a cushion anymore. This is a massive pillow, guys. Look at this. Wow, I like this.
Is that the first time ever that we've done that?
I can't remember. We've done so many comparisons on those, but this is lovely to see.
Yeah.
This is soothing.
More of that, please.
I love this. Yeah.
The feng shui of this is beautiful.
Well, this also calls out to how much Liquid was actually fighting. They got 5th place, but they were only down to 1 player down there. And as you can see there, 9 kills compared to TSM's 14 with the same amount of damage.
But also because the compound that they had, they decided to not kind of defend it as much as they could have. They decided to like kind of step back because there's like 2 or 3 other teams that are fighting in that compound, so they kind of missed out on those kills. They could have done it more greedily, but yes, they managed to get 9 kills and 12 points in total here.
That's because you're playing one of the biggest compounds there, and you know that compound can be shared easily by 3 different teams, and that's what we saw. We saw FaZe on the southwest side, we saw DESPERADO on the north side, and Liquid on the southeast side. And I mean, that compound itself, if you want to get kills, that's when you go for that. If you don't want that, you want to be by yourself, you don't go for that one.
Exactly, and on top of that, like usually when we see these crossroad compounds where it's kind of 3 roads or interjections like that, or in T kind of, what's the word you call it?
T-section.
T-sections. When you have these kind of splits up, you see Liquid immediately, okay, we know that we need to be on this side of the road because the circle is most likely going to go towards this, and they played that overall kind of more passive than I expect them to be. I thought they were going to be more kind of peeking towards other compounds, maybe nading towards it, but they decided to just wait and see if there's any teams kind of pushing towards them.
It's fair. I did like the game awareness from TSM towards the end.
You could hear it from Michael. He literally had a whole novel prepared to how to break down the game.
Here's everything I want to say.
Why they wanted to play like they did, and overall, like that strategy and the way they approached that game was 101 how you should play a game like this.
I'm gonna ask you guys, and this is a bit more beyond PEL. You guys interact with TSM quite a lot. Are they hard workers? Because when you hear kind of like that kind of thing, I mean, obviously they're #1, right? But
I'll tell you this right now. They're extremely hard workers. So Michael works night shifts to deliver milk here in Berlin.
That is, yeah. You gotta earn the money somehow, I guess. But memes aside, right? Wait a minute. Because hearing those kinds of answers and seeing how they were able to kind of deal with those final moments in the circle, it makes me think they're aware of already so many outcomes and eventualities that could be going on to then be able to look so confident in those final moments.
Well, it also comes down to how they go on with their days. Like, they're super efficient when they need to have like VOD reviews and stuff. Being super efficient means that they can literally compress it down to a very short time, and they can have a good amount of free time and just have fun with each other. That's not wrong, but like go out and play other games or just play PUBG and stuff like that.
But also on top of that, it talks to how much game awareness these guys have. They have thousands of hours in this game. And take that like knowledge from the game, add on to the knowledge about the settings, add that on to DIT's kind of the strategy, overall strategy, changing them a little bit of kind of how they want to approach this, and more insights from his previous work. That just like it's so congested into they just know exactly what to do, one by one, every circle, every phase, and I like to see how well they really kind of played this out.
Of course, everybody at home, make sure to use the hashtag AskPEL. We want to hear your questions. We want to be able to answer them here throughout not only this week, but also going into next week as well. So keep sending us those. Stop asking about our beards. Well, predominantly my beard and Rich's beard. Stop asking about beards. I know because I've said that, you're going to ask 100 questions about beards. Anyway, beyond that, we're going to go a short break, ladies and gentlemen. I've screwed up. And when we return, we shall be moving on to Sandhawk. But before we do that, let's hear from Fuzzface.